Hey Shred Shack viewers, it's Bird. I'm new to the channel. The guys at the channel have asked me on. I give myself a little intro. I'm going to put the link to that down in the description. So if you guys want to see that, that's kind of what I'm all about. So I'm going to be doing my first review for the channel. It's going to be a random review. The premise is basically I have a decent vinyl collection of mostly metal stuff. I've kind of sorted out the metal stuff from the stuff I don't think is appropriate for this channel. And I'm going to pick something at random out of my collection and give you a review. So that's basically the premise. I'm going to go over and pick something, and you're going to see that here in a few minutes. Okay, so here's my vinyl collection. On the left here, you can see my non-metal stuff. Some of you may recognize that's Run the Jewels 2. The stuff on the right there is my metal stuff. I also have a few 7 inches, not a whole lot. The left there, I've only got 2 stuff that I would consider non-metal. That's from the Wet Hot American Summer soundtrack, which is a hilarious movie if you've not seen it. And then we got some stuff here on top. There is one of the actually the album of Mennonite by Ken Mode, but it is signed by the band members at the time. That's actually the full album. I do have another full LP version of this album that they had re-released later on. So there is a chance that I could still get this record if I pick depending on what I pick here. So okay, I'm gonna set up the camera and we'll do the pick here. Okay guys, here we go. I'm going to pick something at random. I'm going to try not to look too closely. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay, so here we go. This is Botch, an Anthology of Dead Ends. This is one of the, Botch, if you don't know, is one of the first metalcore groups, probably in the late 90s. I may have to correct myself on that. But this is a good album. This has got one of my favorite Botch songs on it. So I'm going to go through the album, and we'll go through that, and then I'll listen to the album and give you my review. Okay, so I picked Botch, an Anthology of Dead Ends. They are a metalcore band. I don't remember where they're from, but they were on Hydra Head Records. I believe they broke up in about 2006. So here's the front artwork there. In view there. Here's the back artwork, some more mountains with the fence extending. So one of the deals with this album is that there's 6 tracks on it, and all of the song titles are different countries, but the letter N is replaced by the letter M. So we've got Spain, Japan, France, Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Nicaragua. So my favorite, I can tell you right now, my favorite song on this album is France, however the fuck you say that. I'll bring it up on screen as I say them. But it's a real, noise-heavy track. So here's the insert. You've got, actually, here we go. So the lyrics are over here with more mountains. And then you've got kind of the little bit of the... so produced by Matt Bales and Botch. Recorded at Studio Litho by Matt Bales in March 2002. So this was after... Probably their most famous record is We Are the Romans, I believe it's called. I believe that's a little bit before this. I believe that's 1999 or 2000. And that's a really good record. If you want to listen to, the band that started off all these metalcore, albums, Botch is a great band to get into. They're a bit more on the hardcore side sometimes, which some people don't like, and I understand that. But to me, there's a lot of great tracks. There's some tracks I don't care for that Botch have done, but I think they're one of those bands, when they've got good fucking tracks, their tracks are amazing. You saw the spit fly out, so and it's I believe this is a re-release. So here we go, got a blue splatter. You're seeing side A right now. This is side B. Yeah, I believe this was a re-release that Hydra had put out. Hydra had kind of gone out of business, and they weren't putting out new records, but they were still re-releasing old stuff for a while. So I remember jumping on it pretty quick because I liked Botch and I knew the significance of them, and kind of jumped on that because it was during my big record collecting days, and I bought a lot of stuff from Hydra Head. I've got a big amount of Hydra Head bands in here, either from them specifically or after bands had moved on from Hydra Head. But yeah, it's a good listen. I'm gonna go listen to this. I'm actually gonna listen to it digitally, and then I'm gonna listen to it here on the vinyl to see if I hear any differences. So yeah, I'll get back to you. Thanks. I don't know why I said I'll get back to you. It's gonna be like nothing fucking happened. You're just gonna go, maybe show you a fucking thing, and then here you go. Alright, we're ready to go. Let's give it a listen. Hi guys, I'm back. So it's been a few days after I initially did my pick and everything. I was going to record my review for the album right afterwards, but I need a little more time to kind of get my thoughts together. So we listened to Botch, an Anthology of Dead Ends. So I did realize after the fact that I do have This Is We Are the Romans on vinyl. Yeah, this is kind of the album that put them on the map. This is a great album. Maybe I'll review this in the future. Either as a random, maybe it'll come up as a random, or just as a follow-up to this one at some point. So, what can I say about the album? So, it consists of 6 songs. First one is kind of an intro. So, the first song is basically I looked it up, they said that it's literally just a riff that they liked, that they couldn't get into a song, and they kind of just they put it in as an intro. It's really noisy and high-pitched, which is kind of their deal. So they're kind of like a mix between like metal and hardcore. If you're a fan of like Converge, I'm not and that's the thing, I'm not a big Converge fan, but they sound a bit like Converge. They're kind of compared to Converge sometimes. Tom and I had a bad experience at a Converge show one time. They were actually opening for Mastodon, and Tom hated the Converge set. I'd only kind of listened to that point and was not thrilled with it either, but they do kind of get some comparisons. And that's kind of like blasphemy to people my age, because especially people who were into hardcore at my age, like Jane Doe is like a fucking masterpiece to some people, which I get. I don't dislike Converge, but I don't really care for them either. Sidetrack. So, kind of goes through that intro. Then we come to Japan. I'm going to look at my notes for a second. So Japan, once it comes out of that intro, Japan just fucking hits. He's the singer, he's fucking screaming. It's got this pounding fucking just heavy riff to it. It's super fast, and it just fucking nails it. It just comes out fucking banging. It is so fucking good. So Japan kind of does slow down a little bit towards the middle. It's not quite as heavy. It gets a little mathy towards the middle. Not like super much, not like super mathy, but it's definitely a good track. And then kind of slows up in the end, and then kind of just like hits hard again, like right at the end. It's a good track. Frames, however you say that, I keep fucking that up. That was my favorite before I listened to this again, and it's still the best song in the EP. So it starts off with this really high pitched like intro, which I kind of played a snippet of, which is wow wow wow. There's a bit of slide, there's almost like a bit of tap, but it's really high pitched, and that kind of like that riff, it kind of slows down and becomes a full riff as it goes on. It becomes more of a metal riff. And then it's the whole song kind of like just, it takes that, it adds to that riff, it makes it more of a full-fledged riff than just kind of like a couple notes together. And that just makes it heavy, it speeds it up again. And with the rest of with the vocals and everything else, it's just, it easily stands up to anything that's on We Are the Romans. Like, if you're gonna pick up this EP, like that, like there's 3 tracks that are really, really good on this, and that's like the track. Like, if this would have been a full-fledged record, this would have been like the song from this record. This would have been almost like, they probably didn't have singles, but it would have been the single, you know. So this track just blows me out of the water. Even some of the stuff that's on We Are the Romans, like, I don't think matches up to this. So Viet Mam kind of starts off with this mathy, not real heavy, but like it's this really weird sounding kind of mathy, weird time signature type riff. Then it kind of slows down and becomes like this heavier riff and less mathy that kind of like builds up at the end again. I like the vocals on this one. I don't quite like it as much as I like the other 2, but this is still a solid track. This is still a good track. So up next we've got Afghanistan. So this one was written by Brian Cook. It's a lot. It starts off very piano forward. There's very minimal drums, very minimal guitar in this. There's some slower, very soft lyrics, almost like talky lyrics at the beginning, and then the rest of it kind of just plays out. It's a 7-minute long track. It's very calming, so it's kind of like a B-side or something like a slower song that you get on, your typical, metal record or something. It's not bad, but you can tell, like, Brian Cook went off to do Minus the Bear after this, which is a much more toned down, like, classic, like, alternative, like, rock band. And you can kind of tell, like, that's where this is going. It's very off-brand for Botch, which stays, sometimes slower down, but still heavy. They're still heavy. This is not a heavy track. It doesn't sound devoid of Botch enough that it doesn't sound like a Botch track. It sounds like if Botch did more tracks like this, like if they would do like almost like an intermission track or something, that this could be a track like that, but they just weren't known for doing stuff like that. I've known bands that will do songs that are very slower and subdued and don't even get heavy for the whole thing, but it works for them because they're still doing it in their style. So this isn't a bad track, and it kind of ends with some. It's almost like people talking over each other. It's almost like you're hearing people on the radio talking, and then more radios are coming in, and you hear people overlapping. It's almost like people having a conversation at a party or something. So the final track, Nicaragua, is kind of just like it also feels like kind of an intermission track. It starts off very noisy, very distortion heavy, kind of like if like a metal band's warming up and they're just kind of like playing stuff and like letting the distortion run like on the amps and stuff. Just distortion, a lot of noise. You get about halfway through, about 2 minutes in, there's like some riffage going on. There is some riff with some pretty high riffage, almost like taps or slides and stuff. You do get that like kind of towards the end. There's a lot of drums going on while this is all going on, but I don't hate it. It's just not. I don't really consider it too much of a song. So I'll talk a little bit more about the band from what I know. So they were formed in '93 in Tacoma, Washington. Their first album was called American Norvoso in '98, and then '99 they did We Are the Romans, which was this bad boy. That was like kind of their big one. They also had a compilation, was called Unifying Themes, I believe it's called. That came out in '97. That was re-released later after the band had broken up. So after We Are the Romans came out, apparently there was some animosity in the band. They hadn't got along too well during the recording of that. And then after it had come out and it had been so critically acclaimed, they kind of started to fight a little bit. And then after they started to record this one for the full length, a lot of the guys just like, I'm kind of done. I think it was Brian Cook that was kind of like, I'd rather just end it now and be done with it. So believe that they decided to break up in February of 2002, and then March is when this was recorded. And I think it was released in October. So this was released pretty much posthumously of the band. Their final show was released in June of that year, and then a few years later, I think in 2006, Hydra Head had put out a live DVD and CD of their final show. It's a good set. I've seen it before. I've seen bits of it. I've heard the whole thing, but I've only seen bits of it. I'd like to get the DVD and maybe do a review of that sometime. But yeah, and one of the things I will say about their live set is that they were known for doing a cover of the B-52's Rock Lobster, which hearing like a hardcore / like metal version of that is pretty fucking great. I always love it when bands have a sense of humor to do a cover like that instead of doing a cover of something that would make more sense and of their style. I always do like that kind of thing. So that's about all I have to say about the album. I would probably give this like a 7.5 or an 8. It's definitely solid. If it had been a full record and there had been more tracks on this, I would probably give it a little bit better. The songs that are here that are all good. Even the 2 final tracks are good in their own way. They're just kind of not they're kind of not really Botch songs. They're still good. But yeah, I would definitely give Botch, an Anthology of Dead Ends, I would say an 8 out of 10. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. For an EP, this is good. I also want to say that I feel like the cover with the mountains and the gate is kind of severed here. It almost feels like this was a roadblock like the band couldn't get over. Especially even the title, like, an Anthology of Dead Ends. Like, it was basically them saying the band is a dead end. Like, we can't keep going with this band or we're just going to fucking hate each other. Apparently they did say it's like they've been asked many times to get back together, and I guess it's never really happened. Definitely a good band to check out if you like metalcore. It's very different from like new metalcore, from something like Kill Switch Engage and stuff like that. That kind of got homogenized. This is kind of like if you want to see where all that came from. It's definitely more of a hardcore album or a mathcore album than it is like a metalcore album. Especially with this, you can see where metalcore came from. You can see like the beginnings of everything, of where it came from. So definitely, if you haven't listened to Botch, I know there's some people who haven't, check it out. If you like stuff like Converge, it's probably up your album. If you like stuff like metalcore, give it a listen, see if it's something that you wouldn't enjoy. I know some people are not into the hardcore side of metal, and I'm not into the like very fine definition of hardcore, but I like a lot of stuff that's either influenced or based on hardcore. I like a lot of stuff that has hardcore influences to it. So seeing where some of that stuff came from is really interesting to me. And I think if you're interested in seeing where stuff came from, I think you'll enjoy it too. I've got an album in there specifically that's like, that a band has said, like, this is one of our biggest influences. Like, listen to this and you will get what we are about. And I love seeing stuff like that. Especially bands you've never heard of. When you are really big into a band, and like if someone's like, I was really influenced by Nirvana. Okay, if you're from the 90s, who fucking wasn't? But I love seeing bands that like I've never fucking heard of them. Oh, well, there's some band that like only toured in the Midwest between like 1995 and like 2001. And they've got like one EP and like one album that they ever put out or something like that. But this one band that you really like was like super into them or knew somebody was in the band, and that's one of their biggest influences. I love seeing stuff like that. If you like this review, it's my first review, please let me know. And, I haven't bought a lot of records recently, but there was a Bandcamp sale. I did actually buy 4 albums online recently. And when those come in the mail, I'm thinking about putting up a poll to see which one of those 4 you'd like to see me review. And there's there's 3 bands, 4 albums. So I'm curious to see which of any of them you guys have heard of and what you'd like to hear me review. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for giving me your time. Party in the USA. Peace out.